Hello guys and welcome to another tutorial. This has been a long time coming. I'm going to talk a little bit about object programming. I've been talking about this for a while and I really wanted to do it, and here is an opportunity to do it. So right here, let's get started. So right here we're going to define a class. It's going to be called book because that's just a simple example. As you can tell, we're not taking in any parameters just like we are in functions or something. Instead, we're just defining the initializer right here. It's called the initializer. Just stay with me. It doesn't really matter what these underlines mean. You just have to write it like this, and then initializers always take in the first parameter, which is self. Self right here is just something that you can, as you can tell right here, that you can use to define your variables and then push them through different functions using just self, so you don't have to like write them every time. So imagine this just like a storage for your variables where you can refer to them easier. Well, actually, you just write more, but it's actually way easier because you're going to use these functions inside of your class. So right here we have a title, an author, and the number of pages. In this case, it's already predefined, which means you actually don't have to define it, but we're going to talk about that later. As I said, this is not a variable. We're not feeding this anytime when we're referring to this book right here. And we're referring to this book as if it was a function, but not really, because this initializer here actually just acts as the thing that book is going to take in. And then this printer right here just takes in all these variables right here and just works with them over this self thing. That's why we have to define every variable again, self.title being our title and self.author being our author, and the same thing for pages. That way we have defined the self and we can just put it inside of the function. So our function right here just pretty much prints the name of the book and the author and the number of pages. In this case, it's just really simple, but you would usually have a lot more functions. You would have maybe getters and setters. These are a bit more complex things that we're not going to talk about right now. Then right here we have some variables that we define that we want to feed to our class, and they are, let's say, hello world in Python, written by LL Cool J, and it has 33 pages. And right here we're making a new variable because it's just easier to refer to it, and in here we're calling the class and feeding it stuff, just like we would feed a function. So we're putting all of this data inside of this class right here. And since we have our initializer here, as you define it, it's already initialized. So you don't actually have to run the init, just like you did printer right here. So it just feeds the information and it goes through self, and this self can be used all the way through the class. And right here you have key.printer, which is our function right here. So key is the whole thing. And keep in mind that you can't just define book and not feed it anything, or just call it book. That way it doesn't work because all the data has to stay in this variable. And then considering this variable, all the stuff from the variable are already in memory, and you can just call the function printer, which is going to do your thing. As you can tell, it doesn't accept any arguments except self, meaning we don't have to provide any arguments. And then right here we can just print this out. So in our case, it's going to be this. And the second example is the same as the first one, so it's the same thing, but in this case I wanted to show you that you don't need to provide the number of pages because we already predefined it. So if there isn't anything that you provided, it's just going to act as in there's nothing. So if we run this, it should just say, yeah, there we go, 2 books, book hello world in Python, and this one, and the number of pages right here. So that's it. Let me get to a little bit more complex example. So we have 2 programs right now. We have this file getsomething.py and the main.py. So obviously we're going to start with main. We're going to run everything from main. Main basically just imports the other py file right here. Yes, you can import py files like this if they're in the same directory. You can just import them by using their name. And then you got a keyword which is John, and we're going to feed this John inside of our class. To be more precise, let's see our class. So we have a get class, and of course these are not getters and setters, but this is just called get for no reason, so for you who are a little bit more advanced. So as you can see, this time our initializer takes in the word and nothing else. The code, you can change it if you want, but you don't have to. So we're just taking in the word, and then we're passing it to get and get out. And with get we're doing we're doing this. We're saying welcome back, you're programming in Python. And with get out we are saying get out and the word that we're providing. So word is actually keyword in this case. It's going to be like a username. Let's just act that it is. And right here, we're feeding it to our class right here. And right here, we're calling our getSomething.py and then calling the class from it, getClass, and feeding it a keyword right here. And so when this keyword goes through, if the keyword is John, in this case, we're going to use the .get, which is going to give us welcome back and treat us as a human being. In this other example, if we're called admin, in this case, it's going to say key.get. It's going to treat us the same, but if it's none of those, so if the keyword is not those, if the keyword is, I don't know, Sam, in this case, it's going to show us the get out. So let's run this and see if it works. There we go, get out Sam, and if we change this to admin, it's going to say, welcome back admin, you're programming in Python. So now if you take a look in your map, you're going to notice the PyCache right here. Yeah, just ignore that. You don't need to know anything special about this. This just makes a little bit of cache. You can actually delete this every time you run. It's fine. If you're doing a little bit more complex things, you can actually learn more about this, but it doesn't really matter for now. And that's actually it. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day.